Hi. Right now I am doing this watercolor on a very thin piece of watercolor paper that wasn't really accepting watercolor well. So I put watercolor grounds, 2 layers of watercolor grounds, and it works like a charm. So right now I thought with what I was doing here with this, it works a little bit different than the regular watercolor paper. But once you get working with it, you'll see that it works, it's perfectly fine. It works just fine. So right here, I wanted to show you how this concept of leaving the white of the paper. Now, what happens is you have when you're first doing watercolor, you're so nervous about doing it that this concept kind of goes out the window in your mind. You're so concentrating on everything that you literally do end up forgetting. I don't know how long it took me to get this particular concept, but you see how I have some water on my brush. I'm diluting a little in some areas, bringing that particular paint that I just diluted down. So I want the inside of this petal down here to be darker than the rest of the areas, but I'm leaving this white area. I purposed in mind that I've got to leave that little section white. Now, I don't have to do it that way. That's the basic idea in watercolor. But nowadays they have, so many things you can use if you don't remember. At first I never remembered, so I'd go back in with either my acrylic white, or I'd use gouache white, Chinese white. I mean, they have a lot of options now. But right now I want to show you the idea of leaving the white space. It really does look better when you're doing it. See, I did it here in a few places. Sorry, I'm trying to get a drink. I left the white space like here, some places on here, and on my leaves. I put my wrist on these papers because it actually has such a coarseness that it kind of makes you itch. Makes me itch a little bit. Okay, so that's that leaf. All right, so petal. So let's wet the one underneath it. Keeping in mind, and that's the other thing, I try not to wet the area that I'm going to leave white. I try. That's a big word, that try. So this petal here, I want to be a little darker. A little too much water on there. A little more. I'm using a couple of different blues at the moment. But I want this to be a little darker here where I am at, because I'm against this other petal. So it's still not dark enough. Okay. Maybe I had too much water. So I'm going to go against, this petal on the left, this one, with this color. And as you can see, it's causing this underneath one. This would be shadow under here, next to this other one. And I'm just going to bring this around lightly. I'm using a very light touch of my brush, so I don't want that to get really, really... Okay, and as you can see, I'm planning on leaving the white space. And I'm going to leave that white space. Then I'm going to come in here with a little bit of darker blue, and I want to get this indication here of a roll. You see where that must have been a green instead of a blue. Okay, which still would be fine. But you see I'm coming along, and I want to leave that white space, but I want to indicate a fold, and I want to indicate that white space. Now I'm going to wet my brush, and I'm going to come in and pull that back to make a gradation there. Come back in here with some darker color right at the edges where you see me going. And you see how that just worked? So by keeping in mind, and please do not beat yourself up at the beginning. It literally takes a lot of, well, it did for me. Whether it does for, or did for someone else, I really don't know. But for me, for some reason, it took a really long time to get that concept down. I'd have to make notes, and half the time I would not even pay attention to my notes. So, whatever time it takes, whoever out there, that's what it takes. Nobody's professional at any of this time wise of when something happens and when it doesn't. It happens for you when it happens for you, and that's what it should be. Do whatever you have to do to remind yourself that you got to leave the white spots. You can try, talking to yourself. I don't know. It didn't work so good for me because I would, get off into something else. And before I knew it, I was, oh God, I forgot to leave the white spot. So, that's how it works. But it's just one of those things that you have to keep practicing, and eventually you get it. It took me quite a long time. Eventually you get it, like I have it. Now see, this one is not as white because I brought some of that color. I did not leave just the white paper. I just want it lightened a little. Now, say I thought, well, I should have kept out more of the white paper. Okay, let's go. I've got some acrylic white that I kind of use. Let's go back into the acrylic white and see. You can actually use the acrylic white right on top of everything. And now you have a brighter white part there, see? So these are just some different concepts I thought you might be interested in, plus to see how interestingly nicely this watercolor works on what was a very thin paper that warped all over the place, and it just like I said, why they called it watercolor I'll never know. Very cheap thing of watercolor, and you can rescue it. You don't have to throw it out or or anything, or be all disappointed because, which you would be, because it didn't come out right. Just get some watercolor grounds, do a layer or two or three, whatever you want it to do. It's probably trial and error when you first do it. Right now I'm making the center, of the flower. This is also acrylic. The two acrylic colors I tend to use with my watercolor is yellow and white. I really don't use any other colors but the yellow and the white. But I go through so much white that acrylic just seemed to be an answer. And it works really well, as you can see, with the watercolor. So, it works for me. So that's the center, and I, do it in different stages. Sometimes depending on the flower. And this one usually has like a dotted outside and then kind of around like this. However you want to do it for the center of this flower. And it'll change a little as it all dries and I do what I'm doing. Now this particular leaf here, according to my reference photo, is mostly white. So what I'm going to do, I've got some water on my brush. I'm only putting water where I want these colors to go. And in this particular leaf, it's not in very many places. Actually, I put too much water in too many places. Okay, so we're going to get that blue. with water. It accepts water really well. Can really work nicely with the water. And down here, and that's besides a little bit over here, leaving quite a lot of white wherever you're going with it. Even diluted a little bit up here. But mostly this particular petal, I keep wanting to call this thing a leaf, but it's not, it's petal. It's a petal of a flower. So that, I'm sorry my camera was, I'm holding it, I don't want to set up, I'm only doing a couple little things here. But this is, you know, basically, see now how much whiter? You even could, you know, get it more white by taking more of this color out, if you like. So there we have more. And when you want, you've got to have darks and lights. So down here at the bottom, you just add more, and maybe on this side, you're just going to add, you know, more of the color you're using, or, you know, darkening it a little bit, or get a darker color, either way. But on the bottoms here, close to the center, should be much darker color. Your darks will stand out with your lights, and your lights will stand out with your darks. So that, folks, is really all I wanted to show you on this particular little video. But see, this is what's happening with this picture so far. I think it's pretty, and I really like the way this works. It's going to be a little bit different than just the original watercolor paper that works right, but this works awesome, and it's an awesome fix for any paper that doesn't work right with watercolor. Even a real thin paper you can make stiff enough with watercolor grounds to use water with watercolor. So anyway, hope this helped. I hope it gave you a few tips. Have a great day. Bye for now.